All right, now we're recording. All right, any questions on any of that before we jump into the lecture? Anything in the chat? No, all right. And let's get going. So, evolution and natural selection recap. So, a couple weeks ago, we talked about natural selection as a mechanism for evolution. Talked about Charles Darwin and this whole survival of the fittest thing. Typically, it's inferred as being suited for the environment. So, these survival of the fittest stuff: coloration for hiding from predators or prey, behavior that offers a survival benefit, adaptations for gathering food or hunting prey. You guys remember the example we used previously was the colored mice and how different color fur allowed them to blend in better to their surroundings. That would be coloration for hiding from predators. But some things in nature don't always follow this survival of the fittest trend, or better suiting people to their environment. You notice some animals will have bright, obvious colors, long trailing tails that hamper flight, like in this peacock. And traits that seem strange or extreme. We've got this weird phenotype on the head of this bug here. It's just some unusual things that are out there. Sometimes it helps to stand out, though. So these can be beneficial. So the coloration and behavior of some animals will go against what we expect. Why might some animals be brightly colored, like you see over here? And it can offer some advantages. Potentially, it could help with reproductive fitness. It could be specialized camouflage. That's not as common, but it's possible. Social signaling is really important. And then it can also serve as a warning. So it's probably the most common time you'll see these really bright colors is basically telling people that they are toxic, venomous, or dangerous. So you've got a poison dart frog here that are incredibly toxic. Blue-ringed octopus, incredibly toxic. And those bright colors are just used to warn other animals away. So it's a bit of a defense mechanism as well. And then we have mimicry. So bright coloration is often a warning that an animal is toxic or poisonous, but it's not always. So some non-toxic and non-harmful species have evolved to look like other species that are toxic. And a classic example is the king snake and the coral snake. And that's these two down here. If I remember correctly, the king snake is the poisonous, well, no, coral snake's the poisonous one, and king snake is not. But they want to also appear threatening, so they mimicked that pattern. They can also have evolved to look like unpalatable species or otherwise dangerous predators, like you see with this caterpillar here, that has evolved to look like a snake, which is pretty wild. And sometimes toxic species will evolve to look like other toxic species, and you see that with the monarch and viceroy butterflies. Whoops. They both look very similar, and they both feed off the same toxic milkweed plant, which in turn makes them toxic to predators. But they're not closely related as far as butterflies go. So that's mimicry. Sexual dimorphism. So people may have heard of this before or noticed it in the wild. Here we're going to look at these two sets of birds. On the left, you have conures, and on the right, you have pheasants. For some reason, I wrote that down wrong. Here, the male and the female in the species look the same. But in pheasants, you'll notice that the female is much blander than the male. The male has these very extravagant, bright colors. And you'll see this in a lot of species of birds that exhibit sexual dimorphism. And it's fairly common in the animal kingdom. But why? Why do they have this dimorphism? And it is for sexual selection. So sexual selection can occur within or between the sexes. It's hypothesized as the cause for some cases of bright coloration and behavior that could attract mates or predators. We're not going to watch all these right now. We're just going to watch one, but at some point you guys should come in and check out some of these videos. We're going to watch the spider one. Oops, that's not what I wanted. That's not it either. This is what I want. All right, so we see that video? Cool.
For the male jumping spider, flirting with a female is a dangerous game. If he fails, she'll stab him with her poison fangs and slurp out his insides. Before he gets any closer, he'll have to impress her with a dance. She's playing hard to get. But he's not going to give up. It's time to make his move. He's got to put on his best show to convince her he's a better mate than a meal. For his grand finale, he sings her a song. Spiders don't have ears, but she can feel his vibrations buzzing up through her legs. He casts his spell. And she is mesmerized. With the courtship over, the male gets down to business. He produces webs of sperm and inserts them into her genital opening. He escapes with his life, and she is left pregnant with dozens of babies.
Cool. All right, so that was a pretty good example of some mating behavior used in sexual selection. You see similar kind of stuff between a super wide range of animals. It's really common in birds. I think it's pretty interesting that all of these, like even vertebrates and invertebrates, have all evolved. Not all, but a lot of them have evolved these mating behaviors where the male is attempting to impress the female in one way or another. So we're going to talk about intersexual selection first, and this is competition within one sex. Pretty much this is always going to be within the males of the population. So you'll see it as male-to-male combat, like right here with these moose. Different display behaviors, like this bird down here. Sperm competition, which is, it can be offensive or defensive. And what this usually happens with the defensive one is that a male who mates with a female will deposit or leave some sort of toxic substance behind that prevents future males from basically impregnating them. It will kill sperm and stuff like that. An offensive behavior is that a male can actually remove a previous male's sperm before mating with a female. So this only happens with females that are mating with more than one male. Otherwise, there'd be no reason for the sperm competition. So there's that. And then there's mate guarding. So this is where males get very defensive and protective of the females that they're mating with in their populations. And then there's infanticide, where males of a population will actually kill the infants of females. They do this to reduce the reproductive fitness of the other males in the population. It's pretty brutal, but they do it. And why do we see this pattern? It's because most males in nature will never mate. I'm sure people have heard of things like the alpha male and used as like with wolf packs and stuff. And generally the alphas of these societies are going to be the only ones that get the chance to mate, the betas don't. So those that do may have a large amount of offspring, and therefore the male priority is to maximize the quantity of mating. So they're just trying to create as many offspring as they possibly can. And this is different from female priorities, which we'll talk about next. So this is intersexual selection. This is competition between the two sexes. So typically females are the ones choosing the males to mate with. That's what we just saw with that spider. Here's another spider exhibiting similar behavior. And we see this pattern because females in nature have the opportunity to mate, or most females will have the opportunity to mate, but those who do mate will have less total offspring than males. So there's unequal reproductive effort between these two sexes because sperm is cheap and eggs are expensive. So the female priority is to maximize the quality of mating. Hence all of these displays from the males, because they are trying to prove that they have the highest quality offspring. And what's really interesting about that is so far research doesn't support that that's actually true. So all of these extravagant dances and colors are not actually strongly correlated with in their higher reproductive fitness or higher quality of offspring, which is why it's kind of interesting to see why they developed this way. So that would be our intersexual selection and extreme traits. We're going to mostly talk about peacocks in this example because they're a very obvious one. So can female mate choice explain some of these elaborate traits we see in nature? First example thing we'll talk about is runaway sexual selection. So a good example of it is too much of a good thing. And what you see is females will select for this extravagant trait. In peacocks, it's this brightly colored large fantail. And they will have offspring that will then have those large fantails. And it becomes a feedback loop where you just get brighter and bigger tails, and this good quality kind of gets away from them, and you end up with something that's totally extreme, which, as you can see, peacocks are. There's also the handicap hypothesis. So if they survive with the handicap, they must have good genes. So it was previously mentioned, again with the peacock, that their super long tail is a massive inhibitor to their flight capabilities. But for some reason, that is still how they are sexually selected. So that is an example of a handicap. It's a trait that's been selected that is detrimental to their actual fitness. But it's proved, I guess, that they can survive with this detrimental trait, and therefore females think that is enticing. It may symbolize other things. So if you have these bright feathers, maybe it means you have a few parasites or a good diet. Again, so far research hasn't suggested those kind of things are true, but that might be what the females in the species are believing. Then there's the sexy sons hypothesis. That's where females choose mates that will give them sons that will be more likely to mate. So that's very similar to the runaway sexual selection issue. They're choosing mates that they think are also going to have these big brightly colored tails, and you just get this proliferating loop again. But there is the potential that maybe females just like the trait. Not everything in nature has to serve a purpose. So it really could just be that they are more physically attracted to that. Honestly, since there is not a strong correlation with these displays and fitness, that is a likely possibility. And that's it for sexual selection. So let's talk about this Zooniverse thing for a little bit. You're going to go to the link and you're going to pick your favorite project to contribute to. So I kind of touched on this last week. I hope you guys had a chance to poke around. The link is here. The link is also under the important info module on Canvas. And once you've kind of picked your favorite project, you are going to fill out the questions for the assignment on Blackboard. So I have this assignment made. I have not posted it yet. I will post it today. And then it will be due by 11:59 on November 2nd. So it's just a few questions about the project that you pick. Oh, it won't be under assignment 10. Sorry, this was somebody else's assignment. So your homework you need to submit your next INAT by next Monday. Your COVID write-up is now due this Friday by midnight. We have our exam 3 next week, and then Zooniverse project will be due November 2nd. Also, I don't have it on here, but you guys need to order your algae beads. I've gotten some emails about people who were confused about which beads to buy. I have the link for that, so I'm going to post that on Canvas under an algae bead module. I'll send out an announcement about it so you can purchase the right ones. If you've already got them and figured it out, awesome. Try and have those ordered by next Monday, and we're going to talk more about the algae assignment next Monday after the exam. Does anybody have any questions on any of the other assignments we have right now or on the exam?
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Are you talking about those, the allergy?
Let's see.
Not sure if you can see it.
Yeah, I just zoomed in. That looks like them, yeah. Here, I can
That's
share.
the link that you sent to me. Well, to every one of us.
Yeah, is that the lab manual then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hands-on, labs online.
Yeah. Let me show this real fast. So,
oh,
this is
I don't know what we will
this is
be
the algae
doing.
beads. So it's going to be under the Algae Research and Supply. It's labeled with the San Diego State University Bio 100. So these are ours, and the code that came with your manual should allow you to purchase this for free. So it shouldn't cost you any money. If you are having issues with your code, let me know, and I think we have answers for that, but I will let you know. And I'll post this link today, just so you guys are getting the right ones. Any other questions? So exam's gonna be the same next week, be on at 11, 30 minutes to take it, 15 questions. Again, all open note, open book. So if there are no more questions, then we are done for the day.